Hello and welcome to this installment of How Much Would I Pay, where I take a look at a classic bus for sale online and kind of give my impression of what I would be willing to pay as a buyer. So I have no affiliation with the seller, nor do I have any connection to someone actually buying the bus. I'm just a casual observer taking a look at a sale. So this particular bus is a 1960 SDM-5301. So it's a 40-foot New Look bus for sale on the Hemmings website. So let's take a look at some of the details. So first impression looking at this is that it is for sale for $10,000. That's pretty low, right? I've looked at some other buses that are obviously going for less than that, but those are in quite dire straits. This one doesn't appear to be. So let's take a look a little closer at the pictures. There weren't really any details provided. They basically just said that it was a 1960 bus or suburban coach is what all they said. So I contacted the seller and he was able to provide me with the actual model number, which is why I know that it's an SDM 5301, as well as the serial number or the off the builder's plate. He didn't provide a picture, but he kind of told me what it was and a little bit about it. So it is a 1960s bus, and with the serial number, I was able to take a look at the Ohio Museum of Transportation's website and look at their builder register production list, And in there, with the serial number of 166 that he provided, you can see that it is listed as a red tan lines Hudson Bus Transportation Company, and it was purchased in May of 1960. And it even gives the original unit numbers of these three buses, which were 89, 90, and 90. So looking at the picture, you can see that this is in fact Unit 90, which now matches the number that he gave me for that. It has a New York City destination sign. Again, I'm not sure if that is original to it, but again, initial impressions are it looks amazing. The chrome on the bumper looks really good, a little bit of polishing. I mean, everything is there. The GM logo on the front could maybe use a little bit of touch-up paint. I think behind the GM logo, with this being a 1960, it was actually on a black background, which is literally just paint, so that would be easy enough to fix. Windshields don't appear to be cracked, and all the marker lights are there and everything like that. The left side of the bus, and you can see it's got the original livery on it. Again, on the top it says "Ride the Red and Tan Lines." Again, I guess Red and Tan Lines was the name of the line. I hadn't heard of this. Honestly, I don't know any of the history behind that particular company, but I'm sure there's someone out there that would have some information about it. And on the side, it's got Speedy Trails Bus Company, and then a number of 5284-IN. So I don't know if that's a registration number or something for New Jersey. Back of the bus, it has the little advertisement. There is an advertising frame there, so I guess they could put advertisements in there, but behind that, if they didn't have one, it has one for their own bus company. It says "Ride the Red and Tan Lines." The marker lights, or the tail lights more accurately, are kind of like this bullet shaped, and I guess that's an indication of early 60s New Look buses. By the time the 70s rolled around, like my unit 6738, which 1972 bus, they'd gotten rid of that. It was kind of just a flat tail, and they just had like these, plastic marker lamps they put on top of that. Moving inside, there's the driver's compartment, has this, I guess, protective thing so people can't get at the driver. Is that what that's for? I'm not sure. Someone else would probably know more than I. And it has some sort of fare box there, which looks pretty cool. Well, there's a better look at the fare box. So, man, it has got all sorts of stuff. It's almost like a cash register on there, I guess, to sell fares as the driver. It has a secondary speedometer, is that what that is, and a clock on it. And then here, a little bit, you can tell it's got a shifter because it's, again, the model number is SDM. S is for suburban coach, D for diesel, and then M for manual. So it's a manual shift, which I've never done, but that's kind of neat. That's one heck of a handle. I like that. Coming from the back of the bus, or looking from the back of the bus, looking forward, It has all the seats, a little bit of, cosmetic dinging on some of the metal work there. Tail light, or the ceiling lights are interesting. They almost look like old look lamps. Again, so this is a 1956, and then the bus that we're looking, or the bus behind me is a 1956, more accurately, and the bus that I'm reviewing here is a 1960. So it's only separated by 4 years, so that makes sense that they would use the interior lights for this on the inside of a New Look bus. Has overhead racks for luggage and so that's pretty neat. And there's the front of the seats, and I got to say, I mean, even from this photo, obviously you want to take a closer look if you're buying it, but they look to be in great shape. I'm not seeing any big tears and stuffing coming out of them, or springs or anything like that. The floor looks to be in good shape. The ceiling looks to be in good shape. So one thing that the seller notified me, that this bus was also used in movies, which is kind of neat. And so he said that it was used in Men in Black, as well as others, is how he put it. And I couldn't find Men in Black being listed online, but I'm not saying it wasn't. You'd have to look through the movie and try to find this bus there. But looking at the Internet Movie Cars database, looking up this particular bus, and it's in there. They had a couple buses or movies that it was in. Critters 2, The Main Course. I guess that's a classic, maybe. A God's Pocket, a 2014 movie. There's a neat shot of it kind of running in the background. It's got the front door open, which is a little unusual, and a TV series, Forever. I hadn't heard of that. 2014 to 2015. Again, a nice close-up of the front of the bus. Anyway, so that's a great indication, or I guess proof, that it was in fact used in TV shows and movies. So how would I score this bus? So I use a scale of 1 to 5 for several categories. The first being, what is the condition of this bus? So out of 1 to 5, I'm going to give it a solid 4, possibly a 5. The seller says that it runs. The only thing he said he didn't work on it was the air conditioning. So that could be higher, but I would just kind of reserve that last number from 4 to 5 for a final inspection. But honestly, it's in great shape, really. And then, can it be restored? Really, in this case, how much restoration work would it take to get up to mint condition, which it doesn't appear to be far from that. Everything seems to be cosmetic, from maybe a fresh coat of paint, maybe fix up a little bit of the seats in the inside or something like that. But I don't think you're going to find it much closer to being in perfect condition than this bus. That still requires a little bit of work. So again, that's a 4 out of 5 for me. So the next category I look at would be the uniqueness of this bus. So is this particular bus the first of its kind, last of its kind? Was it used in some sort of television show or movies or anything like that? So obviously this coach has a pedigree in a way that kind of leads to that. So out of 1 to 5, I'm going to give this a solid 3. There may be more research that you can do to how many of these coaches are actually in existence. This may be one of only a few remaining, but it's a solid 3 for me right out of the gate. The last thing would be the provenance of this vehicle. So do we know the history of this vehicle, and can we prove it? Well, actually, it turns out that we can, or the current owner can, that they bought this bus directly from this transit company, and he's only the second owner ever. So it's a 1960s or 1960 bus, and with this being 2021, over its 61-year history, 2 owners, and he has, I'm assuming the documentation to back that up. At least you'd have the registration for it, so the registration would show that. So while it would take a little bit more research to fine-tune that claim, and obviously that would be done before you buy it, but I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. I don't think you can get much closer than that, because most buses are going to have, maybe a half dozen different buyers over the years. So the fact that this ends up being only a 2-owner thing goes a long way to make that proof easier. We know the original owner, and then, well, him. So there we go, 5 out of 5. So that gives us a final score of 17 out of 20, which is, I think it's the highest one that I've done so far, and I don't think you'd be really able to go much higher than that. Obviously you could, but that's going to be hard to do because you're going to have to look at having a more unique vehicle or something like that. And this vehicle may be that. So 17 out of 20 is my final score. The last thing I look at is the wow factor, or is there something to this bus that speaks to me that would kind of bias my purchasing, that I'd be willing to go above and beyond when it came to trying to acquire this bus. And I'm intrigued about the history of this transit company in a little bit. It's from a major metropolitan area, so there's going to be a wider audience for something of this history than something that's from a small town. It has documented use in television and movies, so it's had some recognition in a way, so I think that kind of goes to it. So again, out of 1 to 5, I'm going to give this a 4. I'm kind of biased. The fact that it's in great condition, it's a suburban coach, so you wanted to take a little road trip, you're going to be able to do highway speeds with this thing and carry a bunch of people with you. So I kind of like that part. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. So that leads me into how much would I pay. So my scale goes from 0 to 100,000, with 100,000 being the sale of the bus that was used in the movie Speed at auction. And so where does that place this bus? So this is on the higher end for me. I mean, it's basically, from what it sounds like, it's in running condition. It only needs a little bit of cosmetic work to make it really kind of in mint condition. So I know I should probably say a higher number, but I'm going to say a solid $75,000 for this vehicle. Would I go higher than that? Again, if I had a budget, I probably wouldn't, because there's going to be transportation costs of getting that to my house and all that. But that's a solid number. And again, they're only asking $10,000. I honestly can't believe that. But the fact that this bus has been up for sale, I've been kind of watching it for quite a while. I don't know if it's maybe a year, maybe more. Just kind of goes to show that the market for these isn't really there. So we have a vehicle that runs and is in great condition, and they're still hard to sell. So, why I would, $75,000 for a vehicle that runs and is in this great condition, but the fact that they can't even sell it at a fraction of what I'd be willing to pay for it, just goes to show that they're really hard to sell. There isn't while there's a collector's market in a way, they aren't collectible yet. Maybe they will be, but this would probably be one of the best candidates for having a decent price, and it just can't command it. It's a little disappointing in one way, but it's also nice because it allows someone to buy it without, taking a second mortgage on the house. So we'll see where this goes. I wish him the best. The gentleman was getting up there in age. He had obviously a lifetime of ownership with this, and he was getting ready to move on and not be a part of the bus owning community. So he was selling this one, and he said another one, which I couldn't find the listing for the second bus. So what would you pay for this bus? And if so, why aren't you buying it for $10,000? Because this thing is in great shape. If I had more space and I could really justify having a third one, this would really be a great bus to buy, in my opinion. So let me know what you'd be willing to pay for this thing. Or if you buy it, let me know. How good of a condition is it actually in? So that kind of wraps it up for this installment of How Much Would I Pay. I hope, honestly, this bus finds a good home, and it'd be great to see it driving around. So thanks for watching, and until the next one, see ya.